The Haunting of Hastings House by Brynn Morgan. Chapter 1. The sky was heavy with rain, and from the looks of it, would deliver at any moment. Emily hurried across the parking lot to the real estate office, and the bell above the glass door chimed above her as she entered the peaceful, air-conditioned interior of the office. Emily was thankful she arrived inside when she did, because the sky opened with a torrential downpour just a few seconds after she had. She stood there watching the raindrops pelt against the glass windows. She could not believe how quickly the weather had turned. She turned to the receptionist, who was staring at her amusedly. "Looks like you made it just in time," the receptionist chuckled. Emily smiled, feeling a bit embarrassed. "Yeah, it's coming down out there for sure." The receptionist nodded. "It's been like this all week. I'm ready for some sunshine." Emily laughed. "Me too. I'm here to meet Amory Black. She wanted to discuss a property with me. Do you know if she is available?" The receptionist nodded. "Amory's in her office. I'll let her know you are here. Just take a seat in the waiting area." Emily thanked her and made her way to the seating area. She could not help but feel nervous. Emily saw a mirror above a leather couch, smoothed down her wavy red hair and pinched her ivory cheeks for some color. She heard a door open in the back of the office, and a high-pitched feminine laugh came from the hallway. She plastered a smile as her high school friend from years ago appeared around the corner. Emily saw Amory approach her with open arms, ready to embrace her old friend. She forced a smile and hugged her back, trying to ignore the feelings of inadequacy that washed over her. They parted, and Amory looked at her with a delighted expression. "Why, Emily Buchanan, if you aren't a sight for sore eyes." They both sat on the couch, and Emily felt Amory's piercing blue eyes. She shifted uncomfortably under the gaze, feeling self-conscious. "So, Emily, I have a proposition for you that I think would be perfect for you," Amory said, handing her a folder. "It's an old mansion on the outskirts of town. The former caretakers returned to their estate to be with their grandkids 2 weeks ago in Colorado." Amory Black was the pretty local realtor who gushed sweetness and southern hospitality. She was tall and imposing, with platinum blonde hair in a high ponytail that showed off her gorgeous model-like cheekbones, and her full lips were painted a knock-'em-dead red that revealed that showstopper high-wattage smile. Emily cringed under the scrutiny of her. She visibly shrunk in posture at Amory's perfection compared to her mousy, plain appearance. Amory grabbed Emily softly around her shoulders and pulled her to her. One of her long red stiletto nails brushed hard against the side of her neck, and Emily winced, but she did not draw away. Emily accepted the hug. Amory smelled like Coach floral. It was a fragrance that she had worn since Emily knew her in grade school. It smelled great. It was then that Emily felt it. The bump. Amory was pregnant. She glowed in an intelligent cherry red pantsuit and hugged her tightly. "God, why did I come here?" Emily thought silently. It was a mistake to come here. Amory wore a white satin blouse unbuttoned halfway, showing smooth tan skin and cleavage. Her baby bump stuck out prettily. She was announcing its impending arrival in what Emily guessed to be maybe a few more months. She stilled and ended the hug. Amory's smile faded for just a moment, but then returned brilliantly as before. I'm sorry, Ems. I was not thinking. I'm so sorry. Amory apologized. Now Emily felt very awkward and she just wanted to leave. Amory touched her on the small of her back with a hand. Let's go to my office where it's quieter. Amory led Emily down the hallway. You just have a seat here and we'll do some paperwork, okay? Emily was led to a large and bright sunny room, painted a cherry bright yellow, with grey laminate floors that made Amory's red high heels click in the surface with every step she took. Have a seat here and I'll be right back. Amory left the room, and a few short minutes later, she came back in with the manila folder and slapped it down on the desk in front of them. Emily breathed in deeply and exhaled. Amory sat down opposite her and perched a pair of sassy black reading glasses on the bridge of her nose. She pulled out a few papers, smiled down, and folded her arms in front of her on the table. She took off her glasses and looked at Emily. So, her voice was more empathetic at this point. How have you been, Ems? I know this has been so hard for you, she sympathized. Amory's expression looked sad. Emily sighed and shook her head. Oh, you know, I've just been taking it daily and dealing with it as best as possible. Amory pulled a small glass bowl with a lid before her and took the top off with a flourish. Amory had filled the dish with green candies and yellow wrappers. Jolly Ranchers. I've been craving them like crazy since carrying this little lady. Emily's green eyes widened in her pale, heart-shaped face. She bowed her head. It was as if Amory had just taken a little bit too much pleasure in revealing the sex of her baby was a girl. Emily knew that Amory had a side like that. She liked to rub salt in the wound. This was wide open and bleeding still. This wound. It always would be. Amory noticed the dark shadow pass over Emily's face. Fuck, Ems, she exclaimed. I just can't keep my mouth shut, can I? Emily shook her head slowly. It's okay. You cannot tiptoe around me forever. You have your life to live and a beautiful baby girl on the way. Congrats to you and Philip. Amory had that glow about her again. Thank you so much, Ems. It sure has been long enough. I was beginning to wonder if IVF would ever work. Would you like one? She held out an apple Jolly Rancher in her left hand. Emily held up her hand. I'm fine, but thank you. Emily popped candy in her mouth and sucked on it loudly. So, here is the contract. Amory gathered a stack of papers and handed them over to Emily. On top of the pile was an old grainy black and white photo of an old mansion. Emily took the stack of papers in hand, but her eyes remained fixed on the photograph. The mansion in the photo was a grand old thing with a sprawling lawn and ivy-covered walls. Despite the image's graininess, Emily could almost feel the cool, damp air around the old place. Emily picked up the photo and stared at it closely. She felt a chill crawl down her spine. Amory sighed and leafed through some papers as she spoke. Mama said that it was a beautiful house back in its day. It was grand and stately, like something out of a movie. The same family has owned it for generations, since the 1860s, yeah. Sadly, no one has lived there since the last family matriarch died in 2020. Emily looked up from the photo and stared at Amory incredulously. Really? Who was the last one to live in the house? Do you know? Amory nodded and smiled as she placed the papers back in order. Let's see. The last person to live there was Marjorie Hastings. You remember her daughter, I bet. Her name was Hillary Hastings, the mousy-looking genius of a girl with plain features. And she wore those huge Coke bottle glasses, always jumps at the slightest sound. You remember her? I always thought that she was so weird. She could have been pretty if she wore some makeup. Emily tried hard to remember. So, why is Hastings House not being sold? The family could get some major money on the house, right? Emily questioned. Amory felt a thrill of excitement run through her. She had always loved old houses and the stories they held, and this mansion looked like it had plenty of both. Emily took the stack of papers and the photo with a curious expression. She had never seen anything like it before. The image was old and worn, the corners bent, and the edges frayed, but it still held an undeniable elegance. Amory sighed. Well, Hillary called me last week, and get this. She is married to a doctor, has 3 kids, and lives in New Zealand. Good for her, right? Emily nodded in agreement. Yes. Amory grabbed another Jolly Rancher and took it out of the wrapper. Hillary told me that she was forbidden to sell the mansion on her mother's deathbed, and she promised her mom that she would not. She's planning on fixing it up and keeping it. She finished and grabbed a pen out of a plastic cup on the corner of the desk with the name Dafford Real Estate printed on it. She desires to have someone there to take care of it, and she will hire contractors to bring it back to its former glory and maybe break it up into units down the road or something, but it will always stay in the family. Emily stared at the picture again and felt a sense of foreboding, which was strange because she usually did not sense things like that. But there was something about that picture that drew her in. It was another black and white photograph of the old mansion, which seemed to her to have a dark past. Emily could not help but feel as if secrets were hidden behind the walls of the grand estate. She studied the picture, trying to decipher clues about the mansion's history, but the image remained enigmatic. I appreciate you looking for me, Emery, and thinking of me when this house came open. But to be honest with you, it is enormous, and I cannot afford to spend money on anything. Hell, I'm barely making it as it is financially right now. I've had it so hard since Luke and Isla passed, and it is a true struggle to make it. Are there some cheaper options available, like a room for rent or something? I mean, I'm only getting 20 hours at work right now. I just cannot afford the apartment anymore. Our savings were depleted for the funeral expenses and bills. I need money for gas and food, and that is it. She felt so low, having to explain all of this to Amory. What must she think of her at this moment? She was at the bottom of the barrel and there was no way out. Emily saw no light for her at the end of her tunnel. It's your only choice right now, I'm afraid. Hastings House is vacant and needs care, and with the economy what it is, renting is not going to be easy for you right now. No one's leaving, Ems, and they are staying put. Hillary will let you stay for free if you agree to remain in the house and take care of it. Emily, I know that you have your reservations, but I think it could be a win-win situation. You get to live there for free, save your money, and Hillary was happy to hear you were willing to take care of their own mansion. She remembered you and heard about your tragedy of losing your husband and sweet Isla. She asked if you would keep the garden of roses and just do light housekeeping. And you are free to move about the house without any limitations. It's all open to you. Emily sighed and nodded her head. She did not have much choice, not having to pay for room and board. Sounded very good at the moment. I'll do it. Emery smiled with relief and reached out to pat Emily's hand. Thank you, Ems. You will not regret it, I promise. You can move in as soon as you want. Emily forced a smile. She could not shake the feeling that something was off about the mansion, but she could not put her finger on what it was. Nevertheless, she needed a place to stay, and if it meant taking care of an old, creepy house, so be it. After Emily signed the contract, she gathered the things. Anne-Marie hugged her goodbye and went out into the rain, clutching the old-brass keys. Emily did not even open her umbrella. She did not care that she was getting drenched. Hastings House was her only choice. Emily got in her white Camaro and took a deep breath. Moving was a massive step for her, but she knew it was right. She could finally leave her depressing apartment behind and start a new chapter. She just hoped she could handle the responsibilities of caring for such a grand old mansion. As Emily looked at the photograph of Hastings House, she could not shake the feeling that something ominous was lurking behind those walls.